So, as I mentioned before the break, all the reporting from all precincts reporting, everybody says the same thing about the Pistons with 6 days to go before the trade deadline. Yeah, Bojan could get traded, but you ain't getting him cheap.
Nope.
And it hasn't dissuaded any NBA insider from listing his name near the top of best available players, right? Like everybody lists Bojan as one of the top 4 or 5. I've seen him as high as 3 best available player at the trade deadline. But it's been almost unanimous. I mean, everybody says, yeah, you're not getting him cheap. Like the Pistons are shopping him, teams are reaching out, and they're not hanging up the phone. They are being told this is going to be expensive.
Yeah, you're talking multiple picks, and if you're going to give first-round picks, they have to be unprotected for draft lottery, and I'm sure they want players as well. And they should make it as steep a price as possible because he is the top guy. He's the top guy out there right now. Jeremy Grant just got concussed. I think he was a guy that, again, was involved in trade rumors, but now he's concussed. So, hey, who's there? Bojan Bogdanovic. I think a lot of teams are interested in him, but are they ultimately going to pay the price that the Pistons want? And the Pistons don't have to trade him.
No,
Pistons are in a great position here because he's a really good player, and they know what they have in him, and he's got value. And if they're not going to trade him, great. Bring him back. They've got him to the extension. And next year you hope to have a healthy Cade Cunningham. Bogdanovic is there. You got probably a top 5 pick in the NBA draft, money to spend on free agency to go with the core that you already have. I mean, it's exciting either way. It's exciting if you trade him because you're getting something else. It's door number 2, which is always exciting. But the known commodity is pretty good as well. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do.
I feel obligated to bring this up because it is true, and that is we can't forget that Bojan is having his best season offensively. Like he has really, really had a good year. And it's a little bit of strike while the iron's hot. You may want to move him before he reverts to the mean, right? I mean, he's playing very well, and so the idea that quick trade him does cross my mind. Now, out of the teams that I have seen associated, probably the team that has the best draft capital to offer up for him is the Lakers. They own New Orleans pick, which is currently in the 13th spot. So it's a lottery pick. And it has a 4.8% chance of rising up to being in the top 4. And a whole 1% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. So it's probably going to be the 13th pick. I mean, literally, I guess, what would that be? 19 out of 20. 19, you have one shot in 20 of it not being the first, being anything but the 13th pick, because it's a 4.8% chance of moving up into the top 4. So, Gator, do we want the 13th pick? Like, because at some point, you can only do so much with so many draft picks. They've had a ton of picks. They're going to have a top 5 pick most likely with their own pick.
Here's why you want it. Why you might want it. If you end up with the 3rd overall pick, can you package 3 and 13 and move up? Can you package 3, 13 and another future pick to move up? If you think that the can't miss guy is here this year.
Yeah, I don't suspect you'll move up to 1. Nobody would take that for Wembanyama.
And the can't miss guy allegedly is here this year, but no one's going to give up that pick because he's quote unquote the can't miss guy.
Yeah, I don't. Could you move up a spot from if they bomb in the lottery? Could you go from 5 to 4? I mean, maybe, but I don't.
I mean, there's always those chances you take, and we know there are plenty of guys that have gone in the 10 to 15 range that end up being stars.
Yeah.
Right? And those picks that you have, once you get to the teens, they're like take a chance picks. So, I mean, there's always that theory of taking as many kicks at the can as you have, and go ahead and try that, or don't. like I said, I'm fine if they hang on to him, and I'm fine if they trade him. I'm intrigued either way to see what the price would be if they do trade him. But if they don't, I know what they have going into the offseason.
Would you do
good.
it if the primary thing coming back is the Lakers' 13th pick?
Probably not.
I probably wouldn't either. Khang, would you do it if that was the primary thing?
No. I mean, at this point, they've used their draft capital. Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, right? We need adults in the room, as we were saying at this point. So unless it's Wembanyama, like enough with the young guys. I mean, I don't say I don't want any young guys. They got Sadiq Bey, Stewart, guys that can fill in other spots, but role player type. But you're gonna need a veteran that can play right now at some point. So I'm kind of done with the picks.
Yeah, I hear you. A, being done with the picks, and B, and probably this is. I've evolved. Doug's evolved here. I think I've gotten better. I want to trade him. In spite of my bet, I am very leery of the reversion to him regressing to the mean. And it feels like you'll never have a higher. And I just think of it, if you can get a player, somebody else's player, young player that is buried on a depth chart along with a pick, I'd do it because I have to keep reminding myself, this is Olynyk they traded to get Bojan.
Right.
Who can we count on him playing this well the remainder of his time in Detroit?
Well,
it'd be great.
He's been good throughout his career.
He has been good. He hasn't been this good.
He's getting the opportunity more so here, I would guess. But the concern I would have with hanging on to him is that it's not like he's 26.
No, it's not. It's not.
So that plays into your thinking as well.
Yeah. And so as much as I want to win my bet and have him get to 22 wins this year, I think the smartest thing to do is to deal him. And yet I don't want to do it for just a draft pick.
I don't think it would be just a draft pick, though, right? I mean, there's got to be more to it because you're going to have money coming this way as well. So there's going to be a player.
Yeah.
So you have to pick what player off that roster you think makes your roster. And hopefully it's somebody that's, I mean, if it's a starter, great, but more than likely somebody who's one of the first options off the bench. That kind of higher-end player.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, the next.
Who can play in this league. He just isn't getting the run that he wants with the team that would like to have 3 points.
You don't want the next Corey Joseph, right?
No.